Hello again. It has been a while since I made a video, but stuff's been going on, real life's been getting in the way. I'm sure you guys can understand that. But hey, I'm in a new house now. My girlfriend's out for the day. Let's watch some League. Let's talk about H2K because they've had a really rough split so far. And Unicorns seem to be on the up and up, so I really wanted to watch this match. I haven't seen it yet. This is the first time I'm looking at it. I'm just gonna play it through and see how it goes. Let's turn the sound off. Okie doke. Looking at picks and bans wise, important to note that Forgiven is literally just flowed into H2K. Apparently they played these matches with zero practice. So immediately from a draft perspective, like H2K's priorities are going to change because Forgiven doesn't play certain champions. He's very lane dominant, and I think if you've literally just got your AD carry in, although Forgiven obviously knows how to play lane swaps, the coordination of the team isn't going to be the same. So you want to just pander towards his strengths, babysit him, pick him super lane dominant champions. So I would expect to see maybe like with Karma off the table, because Karma's one of Vander's really strong laning champions. I like that ban from UOL. Banned Elise away from Yankos because his first blood record on it is obscene. Bard away from Hilly, Ilaoi from Vizichachi. These are all just standard target bans. The Malzahar is pretty normal, but I would probably like to see something like a Braum, Lucian, or maybe even like Caitlyn plus something else, but maybe Nami or something like that. Oh no, or even Caitlyn Thresh. Because Vander's a fantastic Thresh for Forgiven and Vander. And for H2K to maybe just play around the bottom lane and set up Forgiven. Try to avoid a lane swap, really heavy invade, to try and scout out those lane swaps if they're coming in. So priority wise, Trundle gets picked. That means Trundle's a really important pick because it deprioritizes Sivir, because Trundle's such a great counter pick to Sivir. Let me get the Skype thing away. That's really annoying. So Sivir becomes harder to pick into Trundle because Sivir doesn't have any escapes, and the pillar works really well into shutting her down. But with Karma off the table and Vladimir and Hecarim up, it might still be a Sivir priority anyway. Shen's also up. Normally into Trundle we see a Gnar counter pick, but it could be a flex. Tahm Kench is also up, but again slightly countered by Trundle. So what do I expect to see here? Probably a jungler, just to hide. I mean, H2K can either just pick jungle and support and hide as much as possible, or they can pick a Gnar for like a guaranteed strong lane matchup for Odoamne. Odoamne is a really good Gnar, so I wouldn't mind that at all. Okay, so Shen's absolutely fine here. Shen has pretty good lane matchups into everything. Trundle's annoying into him, but you deal with it and you just get better global pressure. Shen Hecarim is a fantastic combination. I really like this because it gives Hecarim the ability to build just pure damage and Triforce, and then still be that super tanky initiator that you need. That does leave Gragas up. Gragas or Rek'Sai for move. Gragas tends to have weaker ganks pre-6. He usually doesn't gank as much in the early game as a Rek'Sai will. Apart from that, I can't see. It's pretty much just flavor. If you're going to go with the Sivir, which I really like with Gragas and Trundle, then I'd probably prefer Gragas, just because Sivir Gragas is like synergizes really nicely with the ability to run in super quickly. Body Slam Flash, which goes nicely with the Pillar. Kassadin early lock, that's really curious to me. Splice have been busting out the Kassadin, and a bunch of people have been looking towards playing that as well. It just got some buffs on 615, actually, only really minor ones that don't affect the laning phase that much. But this sets you up for a super punishable early game. I mean, Sivir is not a laning AD carry, especially if you're going to put that Trundle into support, which is unlikely to be fair. But yeah, Sivir, Kassadin. I mean, Sivir at least gives you wave clear, which Kassadin is awful at, so I can understand that. But this is just like screaming at H2K for you to be punished in the lane right now. Caitlyn, typically a counter pick into Sivir. He's going to pick the Lucian Braum. Okay, that's completely fair enough. I would have liked to see maybe a Caitlyn, but with Braum on the table as well, Braum probably synergizes better with Lucian in the laning phase, although Lucian's lane phase got nerfed a tiny bit, but just being able to proc the Braum passive off the Winter's Bite in like a double tap from Lucian is super strong. Lucian also pretty good into Sivir normally. It is a nice matchup, so that's fair enough. And Forgiven's a fantastic Lucian. Also a great Caitlyn though. Tariq Gragas. So what's this team going for? I mean, this is pretty much just like dive and going forwards. I do like Taric. I love Taric as a pick, and it goes well with Sivir because you can get this really nice kind of AoE team move speed, and then Taric just puts the what's it called? The thing that allows him to cast dispels from everyone. I can't remember what it is. Is it his W? Whatever it is, on the front line and stuns from there. So like Sivir, Gragas, Taric is really nice. I really like everything about this apart from the Kassadin blind. I mean, it just gives H2K so much opportunity to counterpick. Maybe they don't feel like there's a super strong Kassadin counterpick, and it does mean that a Vladimir pick is less punishing from the side of H2K. But okay, Rio gets to play as the blank. He's absolutely fine with that. So Kassadin comps normally it's just about getting out of the laning phase. So H2K, I mean, they have pretty good early punish champions, apart from the Hecarim. At level 6, this comp like really switches on, and you get like a really nice AoE kind of skirmishy team fight. Mine still a blank, but okay. Right, let's forward this into the game. Like I said, I don't think H2K wants a lane swap. I mean, obviously with like Tarik's is pretty decent laning support. He's not as good as Braum, but you have some sustain with the Sivir, and they do synergize nicely. Sivir is just going to try and wave clear out this matchup, or UOL is going to look for a lane swap, but that means taking away Trundle from Shen and potentially starving Trundle. So I think you'll probably get standard lanes. Go away, UOL fans. Those guys are crazy. I'm really interested to see how Forgiven does in this game. I mean, apparently he's been super great. It's a bit of a spoiler. I mean, I already know the result of the match, but oh well. I actually haven't seen it at all. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Pause. Is that what's going on? Must be a pause. Right, okay. That's when the game starts. No, what the? What? Oh, right. There's a super long pause. Okay. Super long pause. Wow, that is a hefty pause. That's a longer pause than I've seen in a while. That's what, like 20 minutes? 20, 25 minutes worth of pause? Okay, so into the game. Okay, clever. H2K has invaded super deep to get lane wards, so they can scout out the lane swap, and UOL's just hidden their bottom lane. They could have just run top straight away. If you're going to do that, you might as well just literally run straight to the tower. They see the lane swap, so they know it's coming. They couldn't really swap back into that because their jungler's already on the top side, and you don't want to be starting strong side when the enemy's starting weak side because Jankos gets massively behind. But this is decent for a Hecarim because being able to shield a Hecarim in lane swaps is absolutely fine. He wants to just be able to sit and passively farm. I'm interested to see what Vander does here in the 2v1 because you've seen a lot of supports recently start just blowing exhaust on people and going super ham trying to kill people. No, okay, doesn't go super ham for that, which I actually think is a good adaptation. So H2K lost out there. Jankos loses his red buff. But yeah, you want to shield the Hecarim until level 6 with a lane swap. It means that he doesn't have to match up with enemy jungler. He can just sit on the other side of the jungle and just chill. Teleport goes down from him. Okay, so H2K has TP advantage because Odo Amne just ran all the way, so he lost. Okay, so that's why they gave away their red buff, basically, because Odo Amne was just running the hell down and getting the hell out of there. So they don't really have the ability to bully the Taric out in the 2v1. Didn't see that part. But yeah, Hecarim does well in lane swaps because he just is allowed to farm, and it means that he doesn't have to actually match up against the enemy jungler or opt into kind of skirmishes or team fights, like small team fights, where his lack of tankiness gets punished while he's just trying to scale up into that Triforce. Once he gets the Triforce, he's totally Gucci. Interesting fan vote. I guess people don't have that much faith in Forgiven. I mean, to be fair, I didn't, but he is pretty great in the lane. So nothing abnormal here. UOL going to give all the gold to... Yeah, okay, both top laners getting all the gold. UOL getting a slightly earlier recall and just opting back into swapping. Jungle pathing wise, Jankos is a little bit ahead in XP, but that's going to even out. Move got an extra buff, but he left a lot of the jungle in his blue side. I imagine he's just going to go back for that. So I think he'll come out slightly ahead of this in terms of farm. But you're cool if you're a Hecarim just happily farming away. So UOL's going to get back into the lane earlier with their bottom lane. Well, only slightly earlier. Actually, it makes no difference. The top laners are going to be more or less even on fire. Actually, no, they're not. I think Vizichachi actually just picked up more CS under the tower, from judging by the look of the CS differential between Forgiven and Veritas as well. It seems like Chachi just got more of those. But if you're UOL, you're just going to be looking to split push this game. So this game for them is really just about putting pressure on the Trundle matchup. They want to avoid the... Oh, Yanko's coming in there. Okay. Yeah, that's a pretty nice gank. I mean, decent timing. Putting pressure on the mid lane matchup is cool. You want to punish the Kassadin as early as possible because he has a super rough lane phase. If you push him into the tower, he struggles a little bit. Now H2K can use that extra teleport to their advantage to get a tempo advantage. That's fine. That limits UOL's ability to get the Cloud Drake, which is good because UOL's going to be in a 1-3-1. If they don't have a tempo advantage, they can't rotate down to the Cloud Drake without losing loads of CS on either side of the map, which they don't want to do with this Trundle. You want Trundle to be A-OK into the Shen matchup. You want to tilt this as much as possible because their split push needs to be better than H2K's this game. When you play Kassadin, you just play for 1-3-1. You get out of the laning phase, you pander to your lanes, you baby the Kassadin, you baby the Trundle, you try and play for 1-3-1. H2K, on the other hand, is going to be trying to out global. That's difficult into a 1-3-1. I assume that's why Ryu's taken teleport. The 1-3-1 lane assignments are going to be interesting. Okay, so tower going down at the same time. Hey, UOL had to... Okay, nice reaction from them. They knew that because they lost the teleport advantage, Odoan, they teleported up there, they were going to lose out in tempo, so they just push really hard with everyone and share the gold. But that's not great for Chachi. It's okay, but he's going to be a little bit behind of Odo in terms of gold. He's going to get pushed off earlier as well. Odo's getting a lot of time to farm here. Like a lot of time to farm, a lot more time. So that's great for H2K. Forgiven's also getting a CS advantage. I actually don't know where Forgiven's CS advantage is coming from here. But I suppose they're just getting to the waves earlier. So Yanko's going straight for the Triforce, as you can expect. I don't really like the Cinderhulk first. Shook did that the other day as well. Didn't go too well. I think just go straight for the Triforce, especially if you're in a lane swap. Going for the Triforce is probably smarter. Now, will H2K go for this early dragon? They are able to push in the top lane. They don't have TP advantage, so probably not a good idea. Depends how far back Chachi is pushed. Both junglers playing towards the top side, as you'd expect. Move does the good thing, babies his laner, smites the wolf for the spirit. Yanko's with a level advantage though, so he's going to bully him out. Blue buff's going to come up, so it looks like Yanko's will get a nice advantage there. And H2K is really playing towards this top side, which I really like. Just get Odo Omne a level advantage, and if you do have a level advantage, then you essentially have an extra teleport for the length of time between Odo Omne getting 6 and Chachi getting 6. So even if Odo Omne hits 6 right now, like on this wave before Chachi does, or potentially killing Chachi here. Oh no, the taunt missed. Oh, that's embarrassing, but it doesn't actually matter in the long run. Okay, so now because bottom lane's pushed in, that's great for them. I wonder if Jankos will go across the map to try and get a Cloud Drake here. It doesn't look like it. They're going to take the blue buff instead. That's good for Ryu. Really nice deny from Kassadin. So H2K seeing through the game plan of UOL here, doing a really nice job to counter it. Playing very... God, that CS advantage has grown a lot from Forgiven. This is some pretty nasty lane bullying from those two. This is super, almost old school H2K back in like Spring Split, the way they would play with Forgiven. And this is like trademark Forgiven's Forgiven's teams. This is the way he likes to play. He likes to bully lane, and he likes to get like all the way back to when he was on SK, when they had that like massive win streak. They would just push all 3 lanes. And the draft has actually just allows them to do this. They have a winning lane in the bottom lane. They have a lane which they've done well in the lane swap in and given more tower gold to in the top lane, and push tempo advantages there because they use their teleport well. Like even back to the level 1, they gave up Jankos' red buff just so that Odo Omni could have a slight tempo advantage, so he wouldn't fall behind this Trundle, and he's now actually ahead. They dive the Trundle, so they're allowing themselves to push on all 3 lanes, which I really like. When you push on all 3 lanes like this, you want to get early dragon control. At the moment, all their pinks have been invested into the top side, but with the long lane in the top side and Odo Omni's 6 having come in now, you'd expect Jankos to be playing towards the bottom side and them to just push this wave in and take the dragon, which is, I imagine, what they'll do. Jankos is getting blue buff right now. That's pretty great for him. He gets an extra blue, which is super chill. Yeah, and Forgiven and Vander can actually trade into minion waves here and be fine about it. That's how far away, far ahead they are. A move's in base right now. They don't know that, I don't think, unless you recalled on a ward. No, there's no wards in their jungle. But the bully is just so real. Jankos has got ulti, so they're totally fine to be super aggressive with that play. They don't have many pink wards in this area. Ryu's the only one with one in his inventory. But they should be safe to take the dragon fairly soon. Although Odo's getting pushed in. Well, that's got us up. Jankos is going to get real ahead now. Still not going for this dragon. H2K is a team that typically groups a lot very early. They really like grouping mid and shoving, and with a Kassadin in the enemy game, that's going to benefit them a lot. I'm not sure about this draft from Unicorns. Like an early Kassadin pick is just allows for this to happen. It, like from what like I talked about with H2K loving to lane. Oh my life, Ryu's now ahead, which yeah, 2K or 2.6K at 10 minutes is a pretty big lead. Pretty big. They don't even need to go for the dragon because they're just being like able to pressure these lanes, push people out of lanes, and then rotate to mid. Good rotation from H2K. Not much punish available to Unicorns really. And they own your jungle, man. I don't know what you're doing there, move. I mean, that's pretty close to the mid lane tower, which they literally just dived behind with everyone. In fairness, they didn't have a ward there, unless I'm mistaken. I don't know how they actually saw him there. They must have saw him going off into the jungle after this dive. Let's look at this dive in more detail. Jankos gets a good ult, move flashes over it, tries to cast out. Hilly's already dead. Churchy? Does he? Wow, they complete those TPs? That's so greedy. I mean, why? They don't need to complete those TPs at all. They should just be running the hell to side lanes and giving up this tower. I mean, tower doesn't go down, so at least they loot. Okay, I was wrong. I thought the tower actually went down there. My bad. That's fine, I suppose, completing those TPs, but now you just have even more global disadvantage. So they're just going to push your lanes in even harder. Just going to, like... But yeah, what I was saying before that dive is that this draft really played into H2K's hands, just with the way they typically like to play the game and the way that Forgiven likes to play the game. Maybe the fact that Forgiven's in the roster, they didn't really process that with the kind of change in play style. But an early Kassadin and also like an early Sivir when Forgiven's on the other team. Like I don't think you really need to pick an early Sivir there because Forgiven's Sivir is horrible. Maybe it got better, but no one scrimmed against him in ages. And he was never a great Sivir player. I don't think you have to be super worried about it. Admittedly, Hecarim Shen Sivir is pretty terrifying. Pretty terrifying. But maybe you can delay your Sivir pick till a bit later and delay the Kassadin pick till a bit later. I mean, there's nothing wrong with picking a Taric there instead of Sivir. And if H2K gets Sivir, then you just put Veritas on Lucian, I guess. I can understand why you wouldn't want to, but it also just plays into H2K's hands. And now they get to push, take the dragon. I'm going to harp on about this draft quite a lot, to be fair, but I think it's... I mean, Kassadin as a pick, like in general, it works out a lot of the time, and Splice has made it look really good, but it's so risky. It's Kassadin's like the classic LPL arrogance pick, where it's like, we're going to stomp you. And that's when Kassadin does really great, when he's able to get ahead. But if you play against a team that knows what they're doing, and it's going to like punish in the early game and group up like this, like H2K does, then Kassadin gets wrecked. And they're playing it perfectly. You just group and take his tower, because they don't have any wave clear. And the Civ is so behind the Lucian. Forgiven's going for a super early game build. Exile's not even not his rower yet. I mean, 14-minute row is fine after you've gone Dark Seal and Corrupting Potion, so he's not doing awfully in CS. To his credit, Exile's, I think he's a pretty decent mid laner. He's inconsistent, but he's at least kept up with Ryu. But Ryu's now on 3 kills and is starting to build double magic pen items, which is going to snowball this early game really hard. Chachi has managed to pick up a decent CS advantage, but that's just because H2K has been moving across the map so much. They don't really care if Odo Amne is behind, because you're not trying to win that 1v1 matchup, you're just ulting across the map every single time it's off cooldown, and that means that Chachi's split push is not ineffective. He can still split push a tower if Odo Amne teleports away, but they'll just lose something on the other side of the map, so it doesn't even matter. And when you're behind like this and you have a Kassadin and no wave clear, it makes actually having the appropriate level of map pressure to split push properly really hard. So this looks like it's probably just going to be a snowball. When you get a Hecarim ahead like this, it gets dirty, because Hecarim's like the ultimate scrim champion. He's feast or famine. He's almost like he's like the Kassadin of the jungle, I guess, but better in team fights. You know, rubbish in the early game, needs babysitting, but if you get him through the early game, then his mid game is pretty terrifying. Well, I suppose he has a much earlier peak than Kassadin though. Kassadin tends to peak towards like 2 to 3 items, like 30-minute Kassadin is where it gets absolutely horrifying if you haven't managed to punish him. H2K doesn't have that many wards in the red side jungle. They could be punishing the top lane matchup a little bit more. Chachi's usually one of the big carries for UOL, and I'm always a big fan of, like, he's one of the more experienced players, and I'm always a really big fan of tilting shot callers. That's such a good tactic. There you go. Chachi pushes too far forwards. That was definitely the right move. He was pretty out on the map. And just as I said, that's pretty good. So Ryu's going to be horrifying now, and right now UOL doesn't have a game plan. They can't actually affect this 1-3-1. They can't teamfight, really. They can't skirmish. They've got global disadvantages because Odo Amne is always going to have an extra TP. Everyone's over a ward there. I guess that's what gets them spoiled. I don't even think so. I think they already knew. But this is what happens when you allow H2K to play their 3-pushing lane style. So I had to go back to it, but that Kassadin pick was rubbish. And now Ryu's unstoppable. Forgiven gets to play how he likes. Gets to play Bully Lucian. I'm surprised Jankos doesn't actually have a Triforce yet. Oh wow, H2K. 2 kills back. How did that happen? Wasn't actually paying that much attention, I was busy talking. Have to see that team fight again. Oh. Okay. Ryu's picking it up. It's good, because he's looked really shaky recently. He's played a lot of Talia, I think, recently, but it's not gone too well for him. But that's fine. I mean, UOL get 2 kills out of it, and one of them's on Kassadin, which is exactly what they want. The other one's on Trundle, so that's fantastic for them. But they don't get mad. They don't get any objectives off it. So H2K has still got like a 4.5k lead now, which at this point in the game is pretty nice. Oh, that's what it was off. It was off a Rift Herald team fight. Let me see that again. The Taric ulti coming properly. Let's slow this down. Let's have a look at this. See how they managed to get some kills. There's like a hotkey for that, isn't there? I don't know what it is. Is it minus on the keyboard? So both teleports come in. Odo Amne's already in the pit. There's Torn Flash onto Hilly, but it misses Exile. That's probably pretty key. Taric ulti hits. So they don't actually manage to burst anyone down. Looks like their DPS was pretty split. Ryu actually wasn't into the fight by this point. Did he get cast out? No, he didn't get cast out by Move. Now Move lands the cask. Ryu manages to take down Hilly, but Jankos is already low by this point. Exile gets chased out. Forgiven doesn't get it. May burns the ult to that. That's a... I guess the exhaust went down to stop him killing for Jankos. So they just overchased that. Yeah, it looks like it. I mean, they chase into a pink wooded bush with no vision when Oda1 is on that little HP and Yanta. Wow, that was kind of greedy. They didn't really need to take that. They could have just backed off there. They greedy for that play a bit because you don't ever want to give Kassadin a chance to come back into the game. You really don't. Is that actually the plus key to turn the speed back up? I don't know. I'm just gonna put it back to normal for now. Okay, so we're back in the game. Go away. How does this go away? Yeah. Okay, but still doesn't matter that much. Now Jankos has got his Triforce and he can start building tank. Another Drake's coming up. H2K probably could have been quicker on the Drakes, but I think they prioritizing mid tower is pretty fine over a Cloud Drake. Romney has TP, Chachi doesn't, so they're just going to push in the top wave right now. They don't have much vision over the top side, but that's fine, they're playing for Drake. So what could UOL have done better this game? Obviously they could have not got dived. I think part of that is not even necessarily moves pathing. I have to go back and watch that again to double check if there's anything they could have done about those early dives, because that was probably a big part of how they lost. But Jankos played pretty well out of the early game. Actually, he made early game Hecarim look good, which is impressive. He got what, like 2 dives early on in the game, which were a pretty big turning point. I think diving Chachi and diving Exile were probably the big ones, and that allowed Ryu to really snowball. Just having Forgiven back in the lineup's good as well. But I'm a big fan of how they played the early lane swap. Even though I said they maybe shouldn't lane swap and they should just look for standard lanes, the fact that they gave the gold advantage to Odoamne was really good and tried to set this Trundle behind as much as possible. And Chachi's not had that much of an impact in this game. I don't know about the Ravenous Hydra rush. I maybe would have preferred to see a Titanic Hydra, oh dear, because he's so squishy, is what I was about to say. Just because H2K is grouping like this, like if you lose your outer towers this early, which I mean you're going to because it's a lane swap, and because H2K is grouping on you and you're being forced to respond because that's what they're going to do, it's a Kassadin, then you maybe want some tank stats for the team fight. I mean, some HP would be great because you can steal so many of Odoamne's stats that you'd actually be decently tanky. But as it is, he just has nothing. And that's a nice gank from Ryu. I mean, look at where everyone else is on the map. The junglers on the top side, they've just seen him. The AD carries at the mid tower. Why is Ryu there? But that's how you have to play Assassins. You play with the pushing wave and wait till someone comes to clear it out, just sit in that bush. I mean, as a pro player, you probably should know that that's coming. Okay. He really saves that with the Taric ult, but Forgiven's going to be doing a lot of damage now with that Black Cleaver Yomi's combo. Oh, they burnt Sivir ulti as well, so now they don't have 2 ultis. 2 for 1, decent, and you know, Forgiven has 30% CDR, maybe 40% from runes. I don't know. Probably not from runes. I doubt he took CDR blues. Although could have, I suppose. Probably not against the Kassadin. Although knowing Forgiven, he doesn't really do defensive stats, so it's a possibility. Now they're just going to play for this Baron. Lane assignment wise, I don't know if Ryu's the one they want to be in the bottom side. I mean, they don't want Odoamne matching up against Exile, to be fair. I suppose Ryu actually has more threat onto towers because he's so fed that his auto attacks will actually do a decent amount of damage, and he's a ranged auto attacker. And yeah, I mean, of the two, Ryu is probably the right lane assignment because he'll delete Chachi and he'll also screw up Exile because it's a ranged into melee matchup. So nice lane assignments there. And Oda can just soak up some nice farm on the top side. He has so much armor. He does not care about this Kassadin, which is good actually. Nice early game itemization, because in the team fights until another, say, 7 minutes from now, this Kassadin's not going to do that much. I mean, he had decent damage. He has Morello's Rowan out, and he has 3 Dark Seal stacks. 3, not bad, but it's probably not going to come in until he gets his next item, which I imagine would be either a Death Cap or a Void Staff. He could go Abyssal, I suppose. It's a bit late for an Abyssal. You don't normally build it this late into the game. There's not any other magic damage threats on the team, so Abyssal's kind of less valuable. So I've sent Chachi down there to try and deal with him. Yeah, that makes sense. At least Exile can push out against Odo. Just because he's Kassadin. Chachi's still probably going to get bullied. Ryu recalls for a buy. Now he has Void Staff. Oh my god. The magic penetration is pretty real. And all Chachi has is Merc Treads and no magic. There's not much magic res on the rest of the team either. There's like little magic res components here and there. A lot of Merc Treads, which is wise. But this is going to hurt. I don't think there's that much more to be said on why H2K is winning this game. They just played the early game so much better. They played the lane swap better, and Yunko's outpath move pretty handily. Now it's just seeing how well H2K plays this Baron bait, which is an area they have struggled with in the past, if I'm not mistaken. They tend to go for some risky 50-50s sometimes. So it's, with this kind of pick composition, it should be absolutely fine. Brauman LeBlanc gives you so much pressure when someone's trying to check into you. At least they have Gragas and Taric, so they have 2 kind of disengagey ults that gives them some safety to be able to face check, and the Trundle Pill is good as well. I wonder if Odo actually wins this matchup now. Shen into Trundle. I can't see him winning it as soon as the Subjugate gets popped, but I can see him just holding and being perfectly fine and being annoying. Maybe Chachi will try and push in. But Ryu's going to do the same on the other side of the map. He's trading back and forth decently. And if he manages to pop Chachi's ult, then that's just another reason why they can go and take the Baron. So I decide not to go to Baron here. 25 minutes in, you might as well take the Mountain Drake first, I suppose, because that's going to help you take the Baron, and you can take it for free right here. The H2K just has free reign of the map right now. Complete free reign. Let's move this on a little bit, because this is pretty dull right now. This is just playing the vision game. They got the Baron, they got the Dragon, they go over towards the Baron. So we want to see them deny vision here, because UOL currently has fine vision. Well, it's okay. They haven't, like, H2K has a decent number of pink wards. Classic greedy Forgiven, and Ryu as well. Not selling that Doran's Ring for a pink ward is really not okay. That's something that I'm sure probably didn't teach them. Taric ulti goes down early to save Kassadin. It's fine. Ryu's still not dead. I mean, this is just... A, UOL didn't even collapse quicker, and B, the enormous gold advantage. Actually, it's not that big. I mean, 5k at 27 minutes is pretty sizable. So at least UOL's holding on well. I'm surprised that Exile's been able to actually keep up in CS this long. But H2K doesn't have to rush this. Sivir, well, I mean, Sivir and Kassadin and Trundle all scale really nicely into the late game, so it's in their interest to finish this sooner rather than later, but they don't have to, like, you know, take a 20-minute Baron or anything. They're far enough ahead for this to be fine, and Sivir's far enough behind Forgiven for it to be fine. There's the stun on to move. He doesn't have Cask, he does have Flash. Flash is Forgiven. Forgiven's going to flash after you. It's Forgiven. Exile got exhausted there, I think. Yeah. UOL's team fighting this really well. Managed to push it back. I mean, They had a pretty big goal disadvantage, but that's the power of a team fighting comp and of Severe Kassadin. Yanko still has ulti. Forgiven still has ulti. Decent comeback from UOL there. They're going to get this Baron. Oh no, H2K. What are we doing? The wave pressure wasn't great for them there. It's okay, the waves are pushing in the right way. At least their mid wave's pushing in. Which is kind of hard for them to actually get split pressure against the Trundle. Like, you want Odo Omni on the other side with his ulti, but you also don't want him pushing into a Trundle because he's not going to go too well. So how does this whole thing start off? I think Exile jukes that there. Okay, teleport comes in from him. Teleports came in at the same time. Chachi flashes all the way over, so does Vander. Tarek and Kassadin are already down at this point. So this is no problem right here. When's the greed come? Oh, I guess we don't see more of that replay. Well, Exile down and no TP on Chachi. I mean, why was Chachi bot anyway? That means they were just giving up the Baron, which I don't know if you want to do if you're Unicorns, because maybe he thought he had time to get it. They're not a particularly quick Baron team, to be fair, so maybe Chachi had time. Tarek ulti misses Veritas. Whoops. Baron's still hitting them though. This is kind of messy from H2K. Like, they took so much Baron damage. Odo got a pretty good taunt onto Veritas though, so it's fine. They only usually lose Jankos there, so that's good. They at least get some kills out of it. But yeah, I think if you're UOL, you want to just keep desperately trying to fight this Baron. If they can stall the Baron as much as possible and keep, even if they're trading negatively in kills, the gold isn't ballooning that much. It's 6k now, which if they can stabilize that and keep that from going way farther, then they're going to win the late game team fights. Forgiven built for the early game. Trundle becomes an unstoppable monster. But look at this Baron that's like just consistently wailing on H2K. They kind of, you know, they don't do either. They don't, like, either you peel off and go ham and fight, or you finish the Baron. You don't finish the Baron there because move's there. But well, that was decent, to be fair. But the Baron was probably hitting them for a little bit too long if we're nitpicking. I think Odo Omni was tanking it though, so it's okay. Interestingly, there is a locket. I was about to say there wasn't a locket. Exile. That's unfortunate. But I mean, that team fight was, I'm not going to say close, but it was harder than you'd expect, given how H2K has been playing this game. It was closer than you would expect. I mean, for Exile to still be equal on CS is pretty impressive. And Chachi's getting a pretty decent lead now. He now has finally some HP. He's gone for the Iceborne Gauntlet as well. So he has 30% CDR. He's going to be able to trade that ulti much more regularly with Odo in the bottom lane, which is going to give him a lot more pressure. But if Exile can actually do some damage in the next team fight, then they have a fighting chance. There's a Last Whisper and an Eye Edge and a Zeal now down onto Veritas, so Civir's going to be very soon just going to start out damaging this Lucian, even though the Lucian's way ahead in gold. Like, probably a couple K ahead in gold. The early game build from Forgiven isn't going to pay off that well, especially as the front line gets more armor. He doesn't have a Last Whisper or anything yet, he just has Black Cleaver. Although there isn't really enough armor to warrant that, so he's still going to be doing a lot of damage with the culling if he lands it fully. Yanko straight into the GA. Is that standard? I guess it's probably standard for Hecarim, but it doesn't really take much advantage of the Cinderhawk scaling. It does give like double your health pool though, effectively, so it's fine. We would expect him to build some health afterwards though. He's what, 2.9k health now. That's enough. I suppose Triforce gives you phage benefit. H2K goes straight for the dragon, that's fine. UOL on there in time to capitalize on the Baron. Another Cloud Drake. That's right before the Elemental. I mean the Elder Drake. So 4 dragons now. 2 Cloud Drakes is really nice in a pick comp like this. But H2K probably needs to be looking for more picks rather than team fights now. UOL's doing a good job of like bunching up and mothballing and just only taking team fights when they absolutely have to, which is nice. But I feel like H2K should have more vision control than they do with a comp like this. Kassadin now has his Void Staff, or has his Void Staff a little while ago actually. I mean, Ryu has a Death Cap though, but these picks aren't working out for them as well as they could be. Veritas gets hit by the full ulti, Ryu goes in, Hilly burns ulti way away, Veritas is zoned. This team fight should be H2K's, yeah. Now it's definitely theirs. As soon as Veritas gets zoned there and gets half of his health chunked off by the Hecarim, that's a big deal. The fact that Hylissang didn't get the Taric ulti onto Veritas is really important. If the Civ is not safe, then there's not enough threat split between Sivir and Kassadin. You know, if you can get both of them not being chunked at the very beginning of the fight, then you have a fighting chance. But that's it. Okay, nice catch from Jankos there. I don't know what popped Veritas' spell shield. I don't know if he dodged the ulti, but still just got smacked by the Triforce, and that's what all the damage was. But it seemed like a big chunk. Seemed like a very big chunk. Okay, so nicely played from H2K. I think they could have closed that out a bit quicker, and it was looking, I'm not going to say looking dicey. They were fairly firmly in control, and they never really lost a team fight or anything like that, apart from one. But UOL could have maybe come close to taking a team fight there. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next game. Let's see how that goes. Thanks for watching.